Welcome to the Loadout Podcast with Aaron Perlett.
Welcome back to episode 2 of the Loadout Music Podcast. I'm Aaron Perlett, and we are coming to you from the Gaslight in St. Louis. Last time out, we spoke with outlaw country singer-songwriter Mickey LaMantia, and my guest today is not only someone who Mickey is a big fan of, but probably one of my favorite young artists, and she is Morgan Wade from my home state of Virginia. Morgan, it is great to have you on.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
It's great to chat with you. I think I first discovered you about maybe a year ago listening on Serious Outlaw Country, and then I started looking and listening to a lot of your material that is out there, which is not a whole hell of a lot. But for those who are not familiar with you, it'd be great to tell us a little bit about your story. You're from Floyd, Virginia, but just tell us a little bit about you and who you are.
Yeah, I'm from the big, huge city of Floyd, but not really. Yeah, I honestly, to give you the background, it's funny because I was sitting here thinking about it the other day. About 6 or 7 years ago, I was starting out in college, I wanted to be a cardiothoracic surgeon, and that was what I was going to do. I was going to do that, and I was going to start a family, and, I had no tattoos or anything like that. And by the second semester of school, the guy I was dating, we broke up, and I wanted to get him back. So I formed a band on Craigslist. I wrote a song for him, and I got him back, and then I started playing music. And honestly, that is literally where it stemmed from. And I've kind of been playing ever since. I graduated with a bachelor's degree, but I didn't make it to being a doctor. So that's honestly where I kind of got started. I'd always played music, always loved music, but I didn't think I could sing. I thought I didn't sound too great, and it took me trying to step out of my comfort zone, I guess, to be able to get out there. But it's kind of funny. It all stemmed from a breakup, which sounds like a country song in itself.
But you really, I remember when we spoke a year or so ago, you actually started writing music and playing music just, around your home, many years ago, correct?
Oh yeah. I've got songs I remember writing as early as like 7 years old, but I didn't play for anybody else in the family. I didn't sing. It was like one of those things of I'd get off the bus, I'd come inside and I'd play my guitar, but I'd hear somebody pulling in. I'd be like, all right, you got to quit singing now. My voice didn't quite sound like stuff I grew up listening to, Shania Twain and stuff like that, being a 90s baby, Faith Hill, all that stuff. I was like, man, I don't sound like them. I thought something was wrong with my vocal cords. So I kept it to myself. So when I did finally go out and start playing, people were like, my family were like, we didn't know you sang. What's up with this? So they were all a little shocked to know about my hidden talents, I guess.
Well, I know your parents divorced when you were young, and you're very close to your mother. Was it your mother who really encouraged you to just be active in music? What encouraged you and gave you that fuel to really just continue to, whether it's play or write or just enjoy music, even before the incident happened in college?
I'm gonna be honest with you. There wasn't really anybody that was, nobody in my family is really into music. I mean, they listen to music, but nobody plays or does anything. My grandpa, my dad's dad, he was big into bluegrass music, and so when I was about 5 years old, he bought me a fiddle, wanted me to play bluegrass. Obviously, the fiddle was like bigger than I was. So my mom actually, she went out and bought me a violin and put me in violin lessons. And that I did not enjoy that. at all. All I wanted to do was play the guitar. And the teacher told my mom I shouldn't play guitar because I'd never do anything with it. And my mom wouldn't buy me a guitar. So my dad's mother bought me a guitar. And I went to lessons for like a little bit until I kind of figured out how to do stuff on my own. But I guess my grandmother was encouraging, but I didn't share stuff with anybody. It wasn't, I didn't like rejection, stuff like that. I was kind of not a very vocal kid. So I definitely wasn't going to share any of that and, have anybody tell me I sucked. So I kind of kept it to myself all those years. It was basically just, it was something. And I think that's one of the best things even now is I did it for me then, and I still do it for me now. At the core of it, it's for me and it's therapeutic,
Well, if you want to talk rejection, I think we can look at the entire outline of my life, which is one big giant rejection. So I can understand that feeling.
So you can feel me there.
I can definitely feel you. So even today. So I'm surprised when I want to go back to what you were talking about earlier when you were in college and you were talking about how you didn't even have a tattoo, and tattoos are seemingly a big part of your life. You often take selfies, kind of showing your tattoos. So what was the first inspiration, and what's, since you began getting tattoos, what is your favorite thus far?
Yeah, so I have no idea what I was thinking, because I was living in an apartment downtown Roanoke, in college. I worked a job at a gym, part-time, and did not have much money at all. I think I do remember I went and got a tattoo. I just got my siblings' initials on the inside of my arm, and had a friend that went with me, and I had like $50 left in my bank account after I got a tattoo. I was like, but I don't know. It was something about, I did it and I liked it. And then, obviously I get addicted to things very easily. And, here we are. I don't, and my favorite one, I don't know. I've got I don't know. That's the good question. My sisters ask me, all the time. I definitely dig the Morton Salt Girl that I've got on my arm. Sometimes I forget what all I have on my arm. I've got this little baby crying in a bathtub with a snake. I kind of like that one. A lot of people don't like it. It freaks them out. So anything to make my mother ask me why, I'm a fan of. Just to get, But the throat was the most recent thing. That's still healing up. I don't recommend throat tattoos.
It's very subtle,
It's very subtle. Yeah. So subtle. My mom's just like, why? Well, I don't know, Mom. I actually really don't have an answer for you.
So you go on Craigslist and you put this band together, which I'm assuming became the Step Brothers of the former Morgan Wade and the Step Brothers. Walk us through that process. I mean, it's creepy enough buying a guitar on Craigslist, let alone forming a band. What is that process like?
Yeah, not my wisest decision. I'm lucky. I'm lucky. Let's see, I was like 19. And like I said, I worked that gym job early in the morning. So I was there at like 5 a.m. So I would get on the computer and like research. And I found, in the musicians column, people looking. So all I had was like little voice memos and stuff on my phone, and sent it to a few people there looking for somebody, and they hit me back, and I got two other friends of mine who were like 19 and about the same height and weight as me, and we loaded up in a car and I went to a house in southeast Roanoke and went in their basement. And I look back and I'm like, my gosh, if my sisters did that, I'd kill them. Oh my God, looking back. But I played like one show with those guys, and I had the bass player, Ed, and he was with me up until about August, I think, is when I moved, and I've got like a completely different band now than what I had, and dropped the Step Brothers name, and now just kind of hiring people out, because as the music's progressing and stuff's changing, and I needed people that could do full-time stuff. So
was that what precipitated that change, that you needed musicians that could really be in it full time with you, or else it was just easier to hire people out? Or was there more to it than that? I mean, because things happen with bands. Bands break up, the personalities that worked at one point suddenly don't work, and there's a chemistry aspect of it, and that's really important to the creative process.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I'm on good terms with all those guys. Were great. It just it came down to they all work jobs, and the last guitar player I had, he has a tattoo shop, and I still go to him and get tattoos. But like Ed, he was a professor and stuff like that. They were busy, and I moved. I'm not even in Roanoke anymore, and so it was time to like gravitate towards a different level of, this is all I'm gonna do, and I have to have somebody that I can be like, hey, I need you this date, and we're gonna do this, and they're like, cool, and so that's what I've got going on right now.
Yeah. So I mean, so in 2017, you put out the single "Party Is Over," and then in 2018, you put out both a full-length album, "Puppets with My Heart," that had songs like "Party Is Over" and "Bleed." I didn't mean to. And then you also put out another single in 2018, "Carry Me Home." And, in the music then, when I listen to it, I hear a lot of different topics, but the things that I come back to a lot are just love and relationships. And then you sing a lot about alcohol in some of those songs. And I know that's been kind of a pivotal part of your life, because you mentioned addiction earlier, and you recognize that. I think you talk about. I read a story about you were in New York, and you kind of had an epiphany where you realized that you needed to get alcohol out of your life. But that's been a huge part of your life, and you've been very open about it.
Yeah. I mean, I have to be. I feel like that's one of the things too, especially in this career. Like, I have to be very vocal. Like, people come up to me all the time, hey, can I buy you a drink? I'm like, hey, I'm almost 3 years sober. No, you have to put that out there. And that's why I'm super vocal about it. And I have to repeat it to myself sometimes too. So I remember, hey, you're almost 3 years sober. Like, don't mess this up. 'Cause I think it's a little easier, I won't say it's easy, but when you first get sober, you remember why you're getting sober, why you're on that journey. And as I'm about to hit that 3-year mark in June, I'm like, okay, I have to continually remind myself, because you start to forget. You think, well, I'm stronger now, I'm better now, I can handle one drink, I can handle this. And I have to remind myself, no, you're not going to be able to do that. So I talk about it a lot, and I when I put the night out, I had so many people contacting me that they play this song, and it's helped them keep their sobriety or get sober and stuff like that. And I'm like, I think we're all searching for a purpose in life. I don't know what mine is, but if I can use my struggles to help somebody else, then I better do it.
Yeah, and you're well aware that I've gave up alcohol about 1.5 years ago, and so I've kind of been down that same road and continue to, because it's the kind of thing that's always going to be in your life. One thing that I have found interesting is that a lot of people that I am friendly with, there's suddenly kind of I realized, and I think they realized, that our relationship was shaped around alcohol to some degree, and I've found that they have become uncomfortable with spending time with me because they don't know what to do with me anymore. Have you found that same thing where people?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of people that I don't talk to anymore, and it's not a oh, you're an awful person or anything like that. It's just kind of come down to, all right, well, if we're not going out and getting beers together, if we're not drinking together, if we're not going out at night together, then we don't really have anything in common. And I don't. I think we should always be changing and growing. If we're not, something's going on. So there are so many people. My friend group has gotten really small, especially even in the last 6 months or so. And yeah, I don't. I think that people probably think I'm a little boring too. So I'm like, I just everybody, and it's funny because like out in Nashville, everybody that I've really become friends with, if they do drink, it's really not that much. It's like they might have a beer or something, and I can be around it. I can be around you if you want to sit and drink beers or whatever. I'll drink my LaCroix, and I'm like completely fine with that. I can't stand to be around drunk people. Kind of inevitable with what I do, but I try to eliminate that as much as possible.
Yeah, I've found that it hasn't been. It's in no way a struggle for me to be around people that are drinking. Usually, I can just find like a non-alcoholic beer or something like that, because I do genuinely like the taste of beer, and
Right.
find something that gives me the social comfort. But it's not. I quit cold turkey November 20th, 2018, and I've never looked back. But it is kind of an interesting process you go through, and you kind of see who really cares about you and the depth of your relationship. And then I'm sure this has been the case for you from a songwriting standpoint. I know that I have found much more creative means to fill that time where I was, typically just continually drinking, like writing music or, kicking the crap out of my kids or something like that. But
Right.
I'm sure, as your professional career as a musician has evolved, it's probably given you much more clarity of mind and more time to think about who you want to be as an artist.
Yeah. Yeah. I can say, with full honesty, if I was still drinking and acting how I was, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be getting to do the things that I'm doing. Because I never would have put in the work. And there's absolutely, I don't think the people that I'm working with would have wanted to work with me. I don't think my music or anything would have gotten to where it's at. My songwriting wouldn't have improved. Cutting out that demon was like the best thing I could possibly do to get me to where I'm at. So I don't regret that at all.
Well, so let's talk about the people you're working with today, because I imagine the big sea change in your life was that you were playing a show, and some people who played with Sadler Vaden happened to hear you and recorded some of that music and shared it with him. And he reached out to you. And for those who don't know who Sadler is, and actually Sadler, we're hoping is going to come on in June when he's in St. Louis with the 400 unit. But he is a member of Jason Isbell's band, the 400 unit. He just put out a really terrific solo rock album. And he is now working with you on a pretty regular basis to produce new music. Talk about what that experience has been like, because I imagine it's been pretty life-changing for you.
Yeah, it is kind of weird to like look back to then and to now, because I just got done talking to him this morning. We text every day and we talk on the phone all the time. He meeting him, I was playing that set, and Jason was the one act that I really cared to see that day. And I got done playing my set, and this guy comes up to me, and he's just like, "Hey, you have a record?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's at the merch tent." And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, well, I'm playing, I work for Jason, and I want the guys to hear this. And I was like, oh, okay. So
Oh,
that,
okay. Why not?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. So I grabbed him a CD, and I didn't think I would hear anything because I mean I have people say stuff all the time. I work with this person, I work with this person, I have this,
Sure.
I want to
Yeah.
give you this money, I want to do, and so most of the time I'm just like, until I see it in front of me, yeah, that's cool, but I'm not gonna believe it. And the next day, I got a message on Instagram, and they're like, "Hey, did Sadler hit you up?" I'm like, "No," and he's like, "Well, he's going to." And so
Did
then
you
there,
at that time? Did you know who Sadler was?
oh yeah, no, I was big Jason Isbell and the 400 unit fan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know exactly who Sadler was and Jimbo and all of them, and you know, so to me, that to people that you listen to all the time, and I mean, I was a fan of Sadler's music too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like he emailed me and asked for my number, and then of course I'm pretty sure I was about to have a panic attack all day waiting for him to call, and he called me that afternoon, and yeah, we just chatted, and he was like, well, can we Skype next week? And like you play me some songs, and we talked, and I was like, yeah, for sure. And so, which to go and FaceTime with somebody that you really admire and don't know is like, okay, yeah, you got to get it together, you got to be on your A game a little bit. And but I FaceTimed with him, and we played some songs together, and he was just like, hey, come out to Nashville, and let's get together, and like let's work on some stuff, and I was like, well, yeah, because I want to put a record out. And so it kind of just transpired a little bit like that, honestly. And I went out and I met him, and then it didn't take me long to realize, he's and he'll hear this, but he's a nerd. I love him. But it was good because you never know, and you don't ever want to meet your heroes sometimes because sometimes they just suck, and it ruins it for you. But fortunately, Sadler's like the best guy you're ever gonna meet. I was going through a really rough time back in November, and that dude blew my phone up until I got back to him and made sure I was okay. And he checks in on me all the time, and if he doesn't hear anything or see anything from me, and he doesn't have to do that stuff, but he wants to, and he's honestly become a really good friend. And so, but and then I can't even get myself started on how good all the music that we're working on together sounds. I don't think anybody else would be able to get the music sounding like I want it to than him. He kind of understands my vision for everything right now, which is completely different than anything else that I've done. So I'm excited, really excited.
I know that, when I was writing the story on you last year, I spoke with Sadler, and what he told me was that when he heard you sing and he heard your music, he was really struck by the authenticity of your voice. And I think he meant more than just the kind of the tangible voice that you hear, but I think also the context of your lyrics and just everything that you kind of articulate when you're singing and writing. And it was an interesting comment from him, but he felt like you were so authentic. And that takes me back to something you said earlier. When you were growing up listening to kind of the voices of the 90s, very polished female voices of the 90s, you're stylistically, to me, I go back to like the 70s and the 60s to find voices that are like yours. I mean, even like, they might not be these pristine voices you might hear in a church, but they're still beautiful in and of themselves. Like take someone like Tanya Tucker, who's
Right.
really having a really nice renaissance right now.
Yeah.
or Loretta Lynn or Dolly Parton. Although Dolly Parton's voice, it's a beautiful voice in and of itself. But it was interesting to hear you say that and how it sounded like it almost created an inferiority complex as you were growing up. Like, I can't sing as pristinely as these women like Faith Hill or whoever. And but here you are today, kind of being you, and get back to where full circle what Sadler was saying, your authentic voice.
Right.
And and I think it's fascinating to see. I'm watching you from afar, but you're touring with bands like the Steel Woods now, and it seems like you've definitely taken a step up from I'm just playing with a bunch of guys in Roanoke, Virginia, with guys I met on Craigslist, to now you're touring with some people that have sold a lot of records, that have sold a lot of tickets, and this got to be really exciting for you.
Yeah. No, it's every time my agents will send me an email about, hey, you want to go play with this person? We've got these shows for you. It seems like every time I get an email, it's a little bit better than, it's just, it keeps getting more and more awesome folks that, I'm getting to work with. And I mean, it's a big deal to have these artists, approve me to come out there and open for them. Cause I mean, it's a big deal. People show up and the opener, was a buzzkill. That's not any fun. So, it's a big deal. And all these bands that I've been super lucky. Ashley McBride was probably the nicest person ever. It was really cool to be able to do some shows with her, and they treated us super well. And getting to do stuff like that, coming from, it's funny. I'll drive past places. I went back home for a day, back where I grew up, and it's like I drive past somewhere and I'd be like, man, I remember playing there. That sucked. and,
Yeah.
and it's just like, it's I'm super blessed, but I have to remind myself of what I was doing, at that point.
Yeah.
And how far I've come. Because sometimes you get a little like, you wonder, you still get down on yourself and like, am I moving up? Am I still moving up? Are things still going great? And then I have to look back and be like, hey, look what you were doing, and you enjoyed it then. Enjoy where you're at right now. And it's big thing I'm working on is like now, especially with the new music coming out. I'm not comparing it to anybody. People can compare me to stuff, but I'm like, nope. It doesn't sound like anything else I put out. It doesn't sound like stuff that anybody else is doing. It kind of sounds like a new kind of sound, and so that's what I'm all about right now. Is just moving forward, enjoying the moment, and putting good music out. So hopefully y'all will get to hear that soon.
Well, I know, when you and I had talked about previously about some of your present day musical influences, you had talked about people like Billie Eilish and Julia Michaels and Halsey and Rainbow Kitten Surprise and Blue October. I always find it fascinating when an artist like you kind of, plays a southern rock, country rock, whatever you want to call it, has a very diverse span of interests. Because those sounds, they're always going to permeate the things what you're thinking through when you're creating music. I would imagine that, you've got these diverse sounds they're kind of in your brain as you develop this new music. Give us a sense of this new music that you're going to drop hopefully soon, and I can't wait to hear. Give us a sense of kind of where it's coming from, if you can at all.
Yeah, I was always told, and if I look back, the music that I've always really listened to has been more pop and rock and stuff like that. I listen to country music, of course, but the stuff that I catch myself doing isn't really country. what is country music anymore, honestly.
Yeah, today it's mostly it's pop music that you hear on the radio. But I mean, when I listen to your original stuff that you've got out there, they're rock records. I think what makes it a little country-ish, probably more so your voice than anything else. But I mean,
right.
They are rock records.
Yeah.
I mean, just go rock and roll.
Yeah, and that's, I've always just been told, well, you got to sing country music because of your accent. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to sing what I want to sing. And as this stuff has come along, working with Sadler and writing stuff, it's come out more, I think there's going to be kind of that Tom Petty-ish feel to some stuff because of the influences. I mean, Sadler loves Tom Petty. I love Tom Petty. Who doesn't love Tom Petty? But a lot of it's got that pop element to it, which I think, people hear me say that it might scare them a little bit, but, the way I look at pop music is hooky stuff, catchy stuff. And one problem with music is pop music, essentially, I love the beat, but the lyrics suck. It's just like, where's the heart at? Where's the soul of it? So, I mean, with this stuff, my lyrics are real. I've worked really hard on just being super honest with this record and just putting out lyrics that are real and truthful, that people can connect with still while changing the sound up. And honestly, each song sounds different. That's going to be coming out. It's just like we kind of let every song just take its own path instead of being like, all right, it has to sound like this or sound like this. I want this sound. We just went with it. And I think that's one of the best things you can do is just let the song and the emotion come out. And then you just kind of come around it and be like, okay, this is what this wants to do. This is what this wants to do. So it's been a really fun process. I'm excited about it. But, I'm always curious what other people are going to think. But even if everybody hated it, at the end of the day, I'm happy with it. So I think that's all that matters. Sadler's happy with it. And we brought on Paul Ebersole. He's working on the record too. We're using his studio over in Berry Hill. And he produced, he worked with Sister Hazel and Three Doors Down. He did Kryptonite, Superman, all that stuff. So that's
an interesting element to bring into it.
Yeah, Paul is one of the coolest guys I've met. Everybody that's been on this record has been really awesome. I'm curious, John
Oates from Hall & Oates has told me many times. He lives in Nashville now after living in Colorado for many years. He still tours half the year with Daryl Hall doing Hall & Oates shows. And then he's got his kind of own brand of blues-driven Americana that he plays solo shows throughout the rest of the year. And he had told me that when he moved to Nashville and started playing in the music community there, that it inspired him to actually step up his game. And I'm thinking to myself, here's a guy that's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and he's been making hit records since the early 1970s. And he's talking about how the quality of musicians in Nashville is so high that he's got to step up his game. I can't imagine, as you're in the studio with some of these session guys, coming from, you were making records a couple years ago with some guys you found on Craigslist. Is that intimidating for you? That these, I mean, even someone like Sadler. I mean, Sadler's a remarkable musician. Is that intimidating?
I mean, it's something,
or is it just like a hell yes, this is great?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both because I had Fred, and I cannot remember his last name. I feel really bad. He's a Sheryl Crow's drummer. He played drums on this record, and super nice guy, awesome. And then Jimbo came in and played bass. And then Derry played keys. And then, of course, I had Sadler on guitar. But, I had these guys come in, and we literally pitch on that song that morning. And then they'll hear it for a second and be like, all right, cool. And then they'll go in and do their parts. So, to me, that's like, what the hell? It's incredible. But then it's also it's really nice to hear when they come in and are like, hey, we love your songs. We like what you're doing. It doesn't feel like, all right, well, I'm just paying these guys that are coming in playing and leaving, but it feels like you're forming, friendship and stuff like that. But it's inspiring. Absolutely. I always have people being like, oh, you don't need to go to Nashville. Nashville's stupid. You go out there and everybody goes out there to make it. I'm like, well, I'm going out there to work, not necessarily to make it. But yeah, it makes you step up your game. My songwriting has improved so much. Working with Sadler and just, I had never co-written with anybody. And so to go out there and like start to co-write and him show me some different things, my songwriting now is 1,000 times better than it was. And, hopefully that will continue to only get better. But being around people, I mean, you don't want to look like an amateur out there. Like you want to be on your game, but everybody that I've met and been fortunate enough to meet out there, they're encouraging, and it's not like they're trying to steal your position or steal anything from you. They're there to help, and I'm sure not everybody out there is like that, but that goes for any city, anywhere. But I completely agree with that. Definitely.
So talk about that process of writing music with someone else. So are the lyrics all yours and then you're collaborating on the music with Sadler? How does that work?
So I've done these songs. I've done a couple different things. Some of these songs I came to Sadler and he helped me kind of. A thing that I used to not do is I wouldn't put bridges in songs and I wouldn't kind of change things up. And so things kind of start to sound the same. And so he's helped me, change some stuff up. Some stuff we co-wrote together. I mean, like, it was really 50-50. And then there's going to be a song on the record called Reckless. And Sadler actually, he had the guitar riff. He had everything down with the music and the idea, kind of an idea of something in his head. And we just sat down and wrote it. We just got it out right there. So sometimes it's something as simple as a word or something like that, and we come up with an idea. Another thing that I've done is Paul has sent me beats and sent me like electronic tracks. So when I'm out, and I'll turn them on when I'm in the car or whatever, and as funny as it sounds, I basically sit there and kind of just free verse something until I come up with something. And there's like 2 songs on the record like that I, and then of course we go in and have a band come in and do that song. So some of them are actual co-writes, and then some of them are, they sent me the beat kind of thing. And then there's several of them on there that's just me. So which is nice. It's nice to have other input. I used to be like, I don't know that I want, but if anything, it has helped me so much. And I don't think the songs would be near as good if I didn't have some guidance there. So, especially being kind of the newbie out there, it's, these are talented people. So it does not hurt to have their input, at all. So I've definitely learned a lot, and, it's opened the door for songwriting with other people. So I'm definitely happy.
So what's next? What's when? I know you probably can't say exactly when, but when are you thinking the full record is going to drop, and then what's next for you from a touring perspective? It seems like it's been a little scattershot where you'll go on these quick, multi-day tours that might last a month, and then you're back and in the studio. So what's next for you, Morgan?
So. Right now it's kind of deciding some big things, but I honestly want to say that the record will be by the end of summer, beginning of fall, and hopefully a single will be out here in the next month or 2. That's the ideal plan. Things change, but I wanted to have stuff out sooner, but I'm glad that we didn't, because of more you work on something, the better it gets. So that's kind of where that's at. And then, you know, once I do put the record out, or the label puts the record out, we will, I'll basically tour my ass off for, you know, a good bit, which is fun too. You know, getting the hang of that, and just going out there and building up the fan base. But yeah, basically right now it's just like, let's get that record out there. Like, we're all ready. You know, everybody's ready and pushing, and they tell me I'm in the best place I could be right now of having all these choices. So, as an impatient person, this is teaching me patience. So that's how I'm looking at it anyway.
Well, Morgan, it has been it's been a real pleasure having you having you on the loadout, and you know, we will definitely look forward to hearing that record, the new single coming out hopefully in the next month or two, and then maybe, you know, one of these months you'll actually get to tour through St. Louis, because it seems like you kind of go around it. You know, I
do that on purpose. I didn't know if you were kind of creepy or something. You know?
Well, I think the answer to that is a resounding yes. Anyone that knows me, so yeah. All right. Well, Morgan Wade, where can people find you online outside of something like iTunes or Spotify? Which maybe give us your website address. Anywhere else you want people to come find you?
Yeah. Well, by the time you get this out there, it'll be morganwade.com. So I gotta change it from morganwadeandthestepbrothers.com. But yeah, morganwade.com. I'm on Instagram and Facebook and all that good stuff. Or you can be like my little sisters and Google me and find stuff that I would rather them not see. But you know.
All right. Well, Morgan Wade, we appreciate you being on. Thanks so much, and good luck with everything coming up. It sounds like you have a very bright future coming up, and we're really excited for you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.